Alrighty. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, people from wherever you're joining. I see some of the good entries in the chat window. So I would like to thank you all for joining us, especially on a Saturday. So that shows your commitment to learning and to growing. So I congratulate all of you for that. In 21st century, the only thing that can get us ahead is learning faster, learning quicker. So yeah, I really appreciate you all being here. So we'll get it started. We are 7 minutes on clock in terms of a starting point. So my name is Sandeep Joshi and I'm an executive enterprise coach and also a senior director for enterprise agility and cloud transformation for Massive. I've been a part of this industry for almost 24 over years, and I have been part of around 27 plus enterprise transformations across the globe in the last 13-14 years since I have started transforming different clients and verticals. I worked across diverse industries. Um, so in the majority of industries, right from finance, banking, insurance, oil and gas, marketing, FMCG, um, healthcare. So there are many clients, many different verticals I've been working on and transforming. With me, we have Balaji Satram, who is also an enterprise coach working with us to support the webinar. He will be looking at the chat window and trying to answer your questions, which I cannot see during my presentation mode here. We also have Harika and Shreyas, whom you might know already. He had been communicating with you and following up and getting you the links and all. So once again, with that, let's start a bit of logistics. Those who are very familiar with Microsoft Teams, and they know how to use it, but those who are using it for the first time, here is some very basic things that we would expect. If during the meeting, if you're not speaking, we would urge you to keep your microphone on mute. We would like to request you to keep your videos on when especially asking the Q&A so that you can actually talk through and explain what the question means. You can also type in that in the Q&A or chat window. As Shreyas pointed out, we will record this meeting and the recording will be available to all the participants. The presentation will also be available to all the participants. And then the answers that we cannot do or complete today from the Q&A section, we will also publish those on our website within 7 to 10 days. So that's the logistics part. Now let's get into the agenda of what we are going to discuss today. So the agenda is pretty simple. Given that we are talking about career growth as a product owner and product manager, the first thing that we should understand is what is product management is all about, and what are the skills and experience required to be an effective product manager or for doing effective product management. Then we will also talk about what we at Massiveview have concluded based on our experience from so many different transformation, working with so many different organizations, that how the shift is happening towards product leadership and what does it mean. And then we will dwell into different career pathways that you can choose and pick, and how industry perceive this particular function. And then we will talk about how can we actually look at some of the learning pathways, especially structured learning pathways, to take it forward as a career. All right. So with that, before I start, is there any question or is there any particular item anybody have in mind that they wanted to cover as part of this webinar? So I would invite you to unmute yourself or type it in Q&A or chat window so that we can chat about it and we will try if we can cover that item. So I'll pause here. Any particular item or topic you all wanted to get out of this webinar apart from what is listed here as part of the agenda? Alrighty. So with that, let's quickly understand. I saw some of the introductions here. So I would like you all to help me with understanding a bit about your professional journey. So on your screens, you will see a poll being flashed on your screen. So let's help me understand who all are here and what is your professional journey, right? So tell us about your professional journey. Please help to submit this poll result. Yeah, so are you a fresher looking for a job? Are you just getting started? An entry level role you are playing currently, or you are already been in the organization for some time now, like 3 to 5 years, or you have already got used to it, so 6 to 15 years, and yeah, you almost forgot how long you've been doing this. So it's like 16 to 25 years. So please go ahead and yeah. So Aman, definitely we'll be talking about some of the certifications that we do as part of our offerings. And then we can also talk about some of the external certifications that you get from the typical certification bodies. Alrighty, the poll is live. Please help to give us the 16 responses are there. Yeah. So I see majority of our audience is around either entry level or they have been doing it for quite some time now. We also have few people who have been there and who have been doing this for quite long. So I would also like to leverage the wisdom from the audience here. If there are things which where you can feel that you can add value by putting your inputs or your suggestions or your views, please raise your hand and you can unmute yourself and can be part of this. Yeah. So there are few points that is coming out in chat. Yeah. So I already answered about product management certificate. Could explain the relevance of in the coming 10 to 15 years with intervention of AI/ML. Absolutely. And that's why I think the importance of why product management needs to shift towards product leadership. So we'll talk about it. Thank you, Venkat, for pointing that it's really, really very important, especially after the storm of Chat GPT. Everybody is asking the similar questions. So thank you for bringing that point in. All right, so let's get started with the presentation. I know guests are coming in the lobby as well. Yeah, I'll leave it with you, Shreyas and Balaji on the chat. Please interrupt me if you see any questions in between, and I'll be happy to pause and answer the question.
Sure, Sandeep.
All righty. So let's go. Are you able to see my screen, Balaji?
Yes, Sandeep.
All righty, great. Okay, so we just talked about it. So before we get into the details of it, what is it and how these skills and various other aspects of product management, I wanted to give you a quick view and summary of the history of what product management discipline, how it evolved over the years, right? So the first time the term product management came into light as an official title was somewhere around in 1980 when Intuit actually created a product management role. That was the first technology company who had the product management as an official role. Prior to that, the first time the function of product management was introduced as with a title called Brandman by Neil McLeod in PNG. So the birth of this function actually is credited to PNG in a way. And since then, many other companies actually understood, why we need this brandman. And as you can see, because it was titled or called brandway, that means it was very much focused on marketing and sales. So the brandman was responsible for creating the brand awareness, creating the market awareness for the brand, right? So that's what it was initially envisioned, right? And then during 1915, the Toyota production system, they started talking about lean principles, Kaizen, so Go Gemba. So all these things that you that you hear these days, Gemba walk, do Kaizen, do this, do that, right? All those are like we are talking about 1950s. So we when somebody tells me that let's do a Gemba walk, it's a new concept. No, it's almost a century old concept if you look at that way, right? 70, 80 years old. Now, the first HP was founded in 1943, and Bill Hewlett and David Packard, they basically was influenced by McElroy, and they had a dedicated product group. It wasn't product management function at that point, but they created a dedicated product group whose work was to look at the product market fit. So again, marketing sales was their predominant function. Fast forward 1917, you have the waterfall approach. You have tech companies coming into play, IBM coming into play, then Microsoft started, and so and so, right? So they started adopting product management roles or functions, right? But the title of product manager was still not there. The official title of product manager started with Intuit in 1980s, and then into 1990s, Microsoft adopted this program manager role as their foundation for working with engineering, working with sales and marketing together. So that is the kind of founding stone we are talking about. And then 1990s, design thinking also came to existence. So that's where we people started talking about customer centricity. People started talking about, yeah, okay, how can we empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test? So all those design thinking concepts that we now try to go through and try to look through, all those concepts were coined by 1990s already. Then 2000, most of Agile Manifesto came in 2001, lean software development, and a major focus on how can we deliver software better, because that was the starting point of what we call as the technology era now. That's where these functions become very prominent. And then since then, many software companies have adopted this. That apart from software industry and software technology companies, what has happened is since 2010 onwards, as financial organizations, as manufacturing organization, oil and gas organization started to adopt the concepts of agile, concept of lean, started all these transformation journeys, the function of product management started to flourish forward. And people have taken their own varied understanding of what a product management role is. Scrum also got so popular that a lot of people think product owner and product manager are the same thing, or product owner and the product manager are different things. So there is a lot of different interpretation of product management function. And what we will try to demystify to a certain extent in this webinar is how can we actually take it forward and understand the discipline rather than debating on debating on the role. All right. So with that, I will move to the next one. So I hope this gives you a clarity of how the product management function actually came into play, and what is the discipline all about? Where does it fit? So it's if you need to summarize in a simple term, right? This is a glue that binds together your product with engineering, with your sales, marketing, and other functions in the organization, and it holds and anchors the vision of the product in as one, right? So they are very, very critical roles. Now, going forward to the next step is obviously, given that you're talking about product management as a career option, is it a good career option? Right. So some of you are just working as an entry level. Some of you have been there. You have seen the evolution of that. But the question is still lingers. Am I on the right track? Am I doing the right thing? Is it the right path? Should I invest in it more, or should I pivot to do something else? Right. So one of the things I wanted to highlight is for the foreseeable future, as far as the transformation is happening, as far as we are living in this uncertain world, right? Product management as a role will always play a critical part in the organization's transformation journey as well as the delivery journey, right? So you see here some statistics in terms of the numbers here, but even if you don't look at the numbers, what it does tell you is that it is on the list of top 50 roles in 2023, it is at the number 3 position, right? So this is viewed as one of the very critical skills, especially companies who are building products, especially companies who are going on to this project to product journeys. So a lot of companies, you might hear this buzzword these days, oh, we are going on a product mindset. We are going on this product led strategy. Yes, you are. But what does it mean? It means you need this product leadership and product management roles who can actually take you there, because these are very, very specialized skills. This is not that, anybody you can come and then, become a product manager on day one. It doesn't work like that. It needs certain set of skills and certain set of foundations. All right. So with that, let's move to the next part, which is where we talk about what is a product manager. And this is our take as based on our experience working with so many different product managers, product leaders, chief product owners, chief product officers, VPs of product, and product owners at the ground, right? So what we see is a product manager is the person who identifies the customer need and the larger business objective that a product or feature will fulfill. So these guys are really sharp, who look at what is really the gap in the market, and then they try to create a business out of it. So that what we're calling about here is actually an enterprising mindset, right? Where you're trying to understand and determine customer need and problem to be solved. They also articulate what success looks like, right? So they are visionary people. They are the people who are actually forecasting. They are looking forward, moving forward, and then looking at the bigger picture. Okay, yeah, all right. If I do this, this can turn into this. So that analytical mindset, the system thinking is there, right? So that's why they define vision and what success looks like. And then they also define business objective, right? So one point is, yes, define a vision, yeah, we want to go to moon, but then okay, by going to moon, what we will achieve? That is the critical part where you define your vision and you match it to the business objective. That's when people start to listen to you, right? Because otherwise, if you see around you, people who we work on a daily basis, they have tons of ideas, but out of them only 95%, only 5% of them can actually convert that idea into a business objective or a roadmap. That's why you see a lot of startups who get started, they never reach to a point where they are go out of an MVP space, because they never had that kind of idea which could actually turn into a business. So this part where you have defined business objective and develop the product roadmap is essentially very, very critical as a product manager. The last but not the least is the collaboration with teams and the broader ecosystem to develop a product. So they are the ones who are, again, when I was defining the history, you saw from where it originated, right? So they are looking at marketing, they are looking at sales, they are looking between the engineering, the operations, and they are always trying to find out how we can make this product better as a product manager. So that's what a product manager is like. So the 4 points below is just a pictorial representation of what you see as the definition of who a product manager is. Now, any questions on this before we move forward, because this defines everything that we are going to talk today. So if you are not clear about these 4 points, then you will have a little bit difficulty in terms of understanding the next content of this webinar. So if there are any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat window, or you can unmute yourself and ask. All clear? All good. Going forward, right? So now let's take a look at what are the skills that a product manager needs to have, right? So we saw what they are supposed to do, what the function of the product manager role requires. So now there are three different skills that we call it as product manager skills. One is obviously technical skills, where you are putting in your discipline, your execution head, and then you're getting things done, right? So capture requirements, manage the product backlog, validate ideas, talk to people, get things to a place where it is easily understood, right? So that's the technical skills. The second skill is around strategic skills, right? So how can you make sense of the requirements? So how can you create a product strategy? How can you create an actionable roadmap from that strategy? And then how can you create a working business model based on that strategy? right? So some people are really good at defining a strategy, but they have no clue how to achieve it. Then some people might create a roadmap, but they have no clue what will be the working business model. Yes, so these three things are really, really important, and this takes couple of iterations for you to get good at it, right? That's why it is a very, very difficult skill set to master. But that doesn't mean that you need to wait for it to be perfect. You can always experiment and you can iterate from there. Now, the last but not the least, which is at the top, is the leadership skill. So what it means guide and lead the development team. And here development team is not the developer and tester as you see in the Scrum framework. It means the development team of the product. And a development team of a product is much broader than your typical software development team, right? A product development team is you have not just the technology, but also the ops, you have the legal, you have the compliance, you have the people and everything else, which makes the product a product. A product is not just software, right? So half of the people get it wrong. When we talk about development team, they think, oh, it's the development team, developers, testers, BAs. So what Scrum tells us, but that is just the software part of it. The other part of it is the ecosystem under which you operate. For example, if you're creating insurance product, you need copywriters, you need marketing specialists, you need legal, you need compliance people who can actually look at what is going in those policy descriptions, who can look at what is going into those contracts that you're putting as part of your policies. So that's what we mean by guide and lead the development team. Now, manage stakeholders, and he or she is a negotiation master, right? Because that's what they do on a daily basis. They negotiate, they talk to the people, they manage the stakeholders, and then they create inspiring vision and influence the stakeholders, right? More so in the hybrid work environment, their job becomes a little bit more difficult than it used to be previously, because previously product managers and product owners, they used to go directly to people, talk to them, elicit, and they know what they want to do. Now with the hybrid world, their challenges becomes multifold, because now their stakeholders are across the globe, or even if the same city, they are across different locations, and then to consolidate, to collate, and to make sense of what the requirements are, or what the how can you communicate the vision properly, it takes a little bit more time and more energy and more patience. So that's at a high level. I have given a link also below, which I'm very fond of in terms of the T-shaped product management skills, right? So Roman Pitcher, one of the thought leaders on product management, he describes product management skills into a T shape. So he says there are two types of skills when we talk about product management. One is skills which are easily transferable, right? Like writing requirements. It is ability to methodically solve common product challenges, right? So if you have a set of defined steps, set of defined guidelines, anybody can acquire it. Those are the transferable product management skills, right? So for example, if you spend a lot of time and good training course on negotiation mastery, you can get better at negotiations, right? If you spend some time on managing the product backlog, how to write epics, how to write a story, and if you are passionate about it, you can actually get those skills very well done, right? So that's what the transferable skills. The other skill is a product specific skill, which is the expertise to make the right decisions for a given product. Now, these skills are not transferable. These skills comes from years of experience, years of failures, years of successes, right? So there is no product manager who can say I have always been successful, because they have always invested into ideas, they have learned from their mistake, and they have course corrected and pivoted from there, right? Because doing product management is like playing chess on a moving car. So without you moving your specific items on the board keeps on moving on every car turn. So you need, and you cannot control that. What you can control is you can control your moves. So that's what product management is all about, right? If you need to put an analogy, right, it's like playing chess on a moving car. On an every turn, the board keeps on moving, and your moves goes haywire. And managing that, and then coming back with the expertise to bring back. Okay, now I was here. This is where we were So every shock from the market, every uncertain event from the market, every thing that goes to a fail mode, how do we get to a get to a resilient position? That's what product managers bring back as part of their skills. So I have talked about skills a bit now. Let's look at from your experience, right? Let's do a quick poll around from the leadership, tactical, and strategic skills that you saw on the board. Which one do you think is the most important skills for product managers? All right, so let me just quickly launch the poll and help me answer here. All right, 1, 2, 3, and the poll is on your screens now. So please help to answer which is the most important skill for product manager. So you saw 3 on the board: tactical, strategic, and leadership skills. All right, I see 7 responses, 8, 10 responses. All righty. So I see a lot of people have submitted around 17 response now. All right. So majority of the people think that strategic skills are the most important skills for product managers. 56% responses indicates that. 38% is talking about leadership, 37%, and only 6% thinks that technical skills are important. Let's go back to the presentation again. Now, when I asked these questions, that there was an inherent learning involved here, right? So let's assume that according to you, the most important skill is a strategic skill. Now you have a strategic product manager in a startup environment. I know some of you are joining from fintechs and other startups as well. So if a product manager is just strategic and he thinks strategically, will he be able to effectively deliver outcomes? The answer is not necessarily, right? So the sweet spot is here, right? Where you are basically able to do all the 3 things together. The sweet spot is the sensor. That's why this is a Venn diagram. Yeah, that you need to have strategic skills, tactical skills, and leadership skill. And in the hybrid environment, the more focus is on, like the poll suggests, right? The more focus is on strategic and leadership skills, because this is what will drive the outcomes that you want from the product development team. All right. So moving to the next point now, in terms of the next slide. A lot of you have heard of this term called product owner. Some people use them interchangeably. So I wanted to also bring some focus on this topic around, okay, so we have product owners. We were talking about product managers so far. So are they same? Are they different? What is the relationship? How do I know I am a product owner or I am a product manager? Right. So here one distinction that we need to make is, since the launch of Scrum framework and since the popularity of Scrum framework, right? In Scrum, product management function is performed by the product owner role, right? So that's why when we talk about product owner is nothing but a role that you play in Scrum framework to do the product management function. So whatever a role of product manager is, that's what you do with a Scrum team. Now the things become a little complex when you look at beyond one team, right? So because every team has a product owner, in certain cases, a product owner might be guiding or might be working with 2 or more teams. And then when you talk about an organization of size of 30,000 people, you have multiple departments, multiple products, multiple portfolios. So then, okay, then do we need product managers there? Do we need senior product owners? Do we need lead product owners and so on? So all those questions automatically comes to life as you scale up, right? If you do not have the scale, if you're just a team of 15 people, no debate, right? Yes, we know that product management has to be done. And if we are using Scrum framework, that person or that role is called as a product owner. If I'm not using Scrum, I will still call them as product manager. If I'm using Kanban or if I'm using something else, they are the product managers who are actually helping me with what? With all those things that we talked about: product vision, product strategy, product backlog, and all those technical, strategic, and leadership items that the product manager needs to perform. In Scrum, that is performed by product owner, right? They are the ones who decide what to build and why. It is the team who actually builds the thing, and the Scrum Master basically talks about how do we work and build it together. Now, this trio or this trio combination is basically the items that Scrum framework comes to play. Now, what happens when we go beyond Scrum? When we go into an organizational scale, that's where. And before I go there, let's talk about the PO function, because this is the most popular framework. More than 65% of the organization, according to the 2022 State of Agile, uses Scrum framework to deliver software. So that means you will see the product owner role as a predominant role in the market. So when you go out, you will see that there is a lot of requirements for product owners role, or a lot of JDs floating around for the product owner role, right? So what do or where do the POs come from? They represent the people who are paying for the work. Product owners are the voice of customer, and they have enough domain knowledge to take responsibility for ROI and enough availability to work with the team in an agile way. This is what essentially uh, an ideal product owner should function. Now in industry or in your work, you might be experiencing few anti-patterns, like PO is not available, or PO is not coming from business. PO is just a placeholder, somebody playing that role for the sake of playing it, and all that, right? Those are the anti-patterns. We are not talking about those anti-patterns here. What we are talking about is what does the PO role actually entail? Where should it come from, and what it should do, right? So that availability, domain knowledge, and voice of customer. That is the three key things that the product owner brings to the table. Because if they don't, then the team doesn't know what to prioritize, what is the best thing to work on, right? Because that is the job of PO to talk about. Now the second thing is, what do they do, right? So apart when they bring all this, so how they basically what are the activities that they perform? They hold the product vision, they define the features of the product. So they decide what will go inside the product. They work to maximize the value delivered by the team. Product owners plan the releases, and they work with the team, right? They are not outside the team. That is another myth in the industry, right? Sometimes PO just acts like a stakeholder and they don't talk to team. Okay, yeah, I'll tell you what to do. Thank you very much. That's not a real POEs. A real POEs who are working with the team, available with the team, and then guiding them throughout, right? So if you're doing a sprint, for example, in a Scrum, 2 weeks sprint, during the 2 weeks sprint, the PO is available on a regular interval. I'm not saying that day in and day out they are sitting with the developer. If they can do that, that's the best. But if they cannot, at least they are coming to the team on a regular basis during planning, during retrospective, during refinement sessions, during the daily stand-up. Whenever there are blockers and team is uncertain, POs are there to guide them. POs are there to prioritize the work for them and unblock them. That's what POs should be doing, right? So that's the role of the PO. All right. Now, what happens when we go beyond Scrum? There are different frameworks. One of the most popular framework is SAFe, the Scaled Agile Framework. Those who have been working in the industry, I'm pretty sure you have heard this term somewhere, either on Google, either in a company, either in a forum, in a community, in a webinar, and so on. Now, this framework, the Scaled Agile framework, is the most popular framework at this point in time. There are multiple school of thoughts when it comes to Scaled Agile framework, whether it is really an agile framework or is it really an hierarchical framework. So there are multiple different, I would say, groups who debate on either side of things, right? So we will not go into the debate mode whether safe is agile or not, but what currently companies are using and what currently organizations are using, majority of them are using safe as a scaled agile framework, and that's why we feel it is very, very important to put a reference to it here and talk about how safe handles this product owner, product manager thing, right? So if you see here on this slide, this is directly taken from the scaled agile framework and the links are below. If you see the product owner, product manager, and agile team, according to safe, right, product management function is something that sits in the business, and then those are the people who are facilitating continuous exploration. They are guiding the vision and roadmap. They are managing and prioritizing the release backlog, and they are defining and quantifying the value. And they are sitting in the business as a product management function. They are not part of the IT. They don't sit in the IT. As opposed to product owner, who is from business, but they are sitting with the team day to day. They are connecting with the customer. They are contributing to the vision and roadmap. They are managing and prioritizing the team backlog, and they are supporting the team in delivering value. Okay, so according to SAFe, this is how the product management and product owner combination works. That means if we take a step and try to understand this from a roles perspective, we have a team where you have a product owner. The product owner is responsible to work with the team day in and day out. They are continuously working with the team on the backlog, the prioritization, and they are also helping the team to deliver the value. So the typical Scrum model that we talked about. Now the problem that it also have is because SAFe is not just Scrum, right? SAFe talks about Kanban, SAFe talks about custom, and many other things. But their proposition for product owner doesn't change, right? So they say yes, product owner is required at the team level. All good. Then when you move up at a product level, you need a product management function. Okay, so here, those who are at an entry level, just to understand, a product may be built by one or many teams, because in enterprise, you do not have just very simple products, right? So for example, let's take in loan origination product, right? Where you have a function for creating loan applications, then another one for approving the loan, third one is for disbursement, fourth one is for loan servicing. Now, none of these functions are independent, right? So even when you do the loan origination, you need to interact with multiple different systems in the bank. So when somebody is requesting for a loan application, the application has to connect with the central customer database. The application has to connect with the central authentication database to check if the customer already exists, if the customer is there or not. So the complexities of creating a product in enterprise is very different than you creating an independent product as a fintech or as a startup, because startup don't have those kind of integration points from day one. They might do as they evolve, right? So for example, take an example of Ola. The first and foremost thing in India, right? So the taxi hailing services. What they have done, they have created an application where you can book a taxi. They do not have a baggage of integrating that application with a third party or a banking on day one. You can actually go and just have a payment gateways and everything is sorted. The next thing is when Ola decides to become a lifestyle application, that's when all these integrations comes into play, right? Okay, yeah, all right. We want to integrate with insurance. We want to integrate with all the payment wallets. We want to integrate with all the banks. We want to integrate with all the fashion services provider. We want to integrate with auto, this and that, right? So the moment you do that, suddenly your function of the product becomes multifold and exponential. So now there is impossible for a single product owner to know everything or to comprehend all these things. That's where the product management function comes into play, where you have a specialized knowledge set. and a specialized understanding of the scale. That's what, when you go at this scale, you will see more and more product management as a function, and all those product management roles come into play. So that's why product management roles require a certain level of expertise and experience to be effective. All right. So this is the take of SAFE. Now, given that we promote framework agnosticness, we also have created what happens if we try to create a framework agnostic approach. That okay, I'm not following SAFE. Thank you. I will take Scrum. I will take Kanban. I will do my own scaling approach. I will do my own hierarchy. I will do my own line management and so and so. Then also, if you look at it, right? So again, Roman Pitcher is a very good blog, and I will urge you all to look at it. So he defines that, if you're looking at vision, strategy, and tactics, right? So when it is coming to just one team, like I mentioned, if you're just doing a Scrum and you're only creating a simple product, the product owner is supposed to do everything, vision, strategy, and tactics. But when you're talking about a behemoth, a lifestyle kind of product which is big, you might need a product owner at the team level. You might need a product manager at a function level, and their focus will be different. Right. So we talked about product manager. They are looking at big picture, vision, customer understanding, stakeholder management, prioritizing the feature, and product roadmap. They are outward focused in other way, or in other words, right? They are looking at the market. They are understanding market trend. They are looking at the budget and funding. All right. So for example, again, in a fintech, if you are a fintech on lending and you are thinking that, let's build a new product or new feature for lending where I will give SME lending or I will enable SME lending using, let's say, using video KYC. Now, when you're launching that product and you see that, all your competitor already have video KYC or a big enterprise already launched a video KYC, you might think twice about putting all the money on that feature. Or you might say, we need to put all the focus here so that we can still be relevant, because if you don't have this feature, then people won't come to us. So those kind of decisions are made by product managers. Then product owner, again, short-term focus, they are executing the roadmap. They have the inward look towards team, working with the team, and then defining and prioritizing their work items, backlog, epics, user stories, and so on and so forth. Right. So are there any questions, Balaji, in the chat window on the product owner versus manager?
No, Sandeep, as of now, nothing on that. But there were some questions which I have answered. Maybe in last we can take your overview.
All right. Okay. So that is a framework agnostic view that we see in the market more and more happening at this point in time. Right. So this is basically the product management space. But then what we are seeing since last 4 to 5 years, especially after 2017 onwards, what we have seen is a shift in terms of from product management to product leadership, right? Where a lot of people and a lot of organizations, especially the non-tech companies like financial organizations, like the likes of banks, the likes of oil and gas, the likes of consumer FMCG companies, the likes of the enterprises around servicing, hospitality. All those companies are now going into what we look at as the product-led strategy or product-based thinking. What that has actually created is it created a layer above and beyond, which we call as product leadership. Okay, so it's about managing and orchestrating product management functions. Now I'll read it again. Okay, just so that we understand. It's about managing and orchestrating product management functions. It is not singular, it's a plural form. That means in a product-led strategy or product-led organization, you have multiple different product management functions, right? Because the strategy is about skills and scalable approaches that you need to change your products, your technology, and your processes in a fast moving space, right? So this is about responding to change and in a way that is, number one, palatable to the organization, and number two, which is expected or in line with the expectation of the customers, right? Because you might create a change which is palatable to organization, but the customer is already gone because yeah, my organization cannot change it. And we are seeing a lot of companies losing customers because of their inability to change faster, right? So when we talk about product led or product leadership, these are the people who are actually looking at your end-to-end operational value streams, end-to-end value streams of the organization to see how can you enable faster change, enable faster delivery, and optimize the operations. So again, this is not something which is evolved just yesterday. This is going on for a couple of years now. And what we are seeing is more and more appreciation for that. You know what? We need to move towards product leadership as a whole, right? Because every function that we talked about so far, whether it is product owner, whether it is product manager, both of these functions are having a critical skill as leadership. Leadership is the foundation for that, right? So when we talk about product leadership, these are really, really senior experts or senior functions in the business who are looking at product-led strategy. They are looking at cross-domain collaboration. They are looking at end-to-end process management, right? So for the products. So now what does it mean? So for example, when we talk about products, we are talking about managing the product budget, identifying go to market, identifying the projects that needs to be shifted to the product model, identifying who are the people who can lead those products and transitions, identifying which products to sunset, identifying which products and ideas to be invested for long term, and so on and so forth. And they are not just limited to the product manager title. These people you will see in organizations in different roles, right? So they take the role of CMOs, sometimes VP, sometimes directors or chief of sustainability or chief of this and that, right? So there are so many different product leadership roles that you will see in organizations. So this is an evolving concept, but this is something that underpins everything that product management functions are responsible for. And this is what at Massiveview we believe is the future of product management, right? Especially when things like AI ML is going to overtake a lot of technical work, right? So there was a question about how do I see the future of product management role in the next 10 to 15 years. I think 10 to 15 years is still far away, but maybe the 5 to 8 years, maybe until 2030, we can at least confidently say that the technical skills, yes, obviously replaceable, because like we said, if you have a set of patterns, a set of defined steps, you can actually pass those skills to anybody. And AI and ML is a best fit tool to do some of it. For example, writing user stories, writing epics, coming up with acceptance criteria, coming up with a specified, let's say the behavior driven test cases, those who are using, Ziffer and other tools for that, AI can do that very well, right? So, but can AI tell you based on the customer feedback that what is the mood or what is the actual requirement of that currently? It's far away from that. Can it ever? Yes, obviously, if you train it enough, we can see those kind of things, right? So NVIDIA currently, so you might have heard of ChatGPT. There is a ChatGPT 5 done by NVIDIA, which basically are working on facial representation and recognition. So currently, just to put things in context, right? ChatGPT has 5 billion prompts at this point in time, and given their funding and this and that, they are basically planning to take it to 1 trillion. The one that I'm talking about, NVIDIA, they have 5 trillion prompts at this point, but it's not public yet. So yes, in AI and ML, you are going to have a lot of divergent, a lot of research experimentation, and also a lot of innovation. But will it directly replicate the human element from what we are looking at from the product leadership functions? No. For technical, yes. Strategic and the leadership functions, is clearly something that you need people to do that at this stage. All right. So with that, we will move to the next part of this. So I talked about product manager role. I talked about the skills. Now let's take a look at how industry perceives this. And this is one of the uh, product manager career pathways I have taken from web, from the theproductmanager.com. The link is there. You can also go. I will highly encourage you to take a look at this link and then read through this. Again, what they are talking about is, yes, if you're coming directly from a graduate or you are transitioning from project manager role or a software developer role or a business analyst role, these are the typical career pathways. Okay, so the first is you will start as associate product manager, then you'll go to junior product manager, then you become a product manager, then you become a senior product manager, then you become a product leader, and then you become VP of product or chief product officer. Right, so there is a linear path that they think is practiced currently in the industry, and they might be correct for certain industries and certain companies. I just wanted to put this forward so that when you look at it online, you also understand that this path exists and this path can be a viable path in certain industries. But is it the only path? The answer is no. So let's take another path, which is done by Roman Pitcher, right? Yesterday, he posted this on his LinkedIn as a blog. So the post is still there on the LinkedIn, but the blog is taken back because of so many comments and so many threads. Hopefully he will post it again, but this is the glimpse of what his thinking was. And I had a quick message with him later on LinkedIn, and he said, yeah, he will post it back later. But what essentially, if you see in this one, he says, what, there are multiple different product management career pathways. Okay, so if you are looking at just a product, big or small, you might be a component owner, you might be a feature owner. Then if you're working and owning a small product, you are a junior Scrum product owner. Then you are a senior Scrum product owner if you are looking at a bigger product. If you are multiple products, then you have a product portfolio owner. And if you are leading a group of product people, then you are a head of product. So this was his thinking. There are many such pathways exist based on different thought leader and their experience. Now you see different industries follow different nomenclature of their roles and title, right? So if you go in a banking industry, you might not find this junior Scrum product owner, senior Scrum product owner, and so on. In certain banks, you might find lead product owner, chief product owner. In certain manufacturing type of companies, you might not find a product owner at all. There you will find product manager, associate product manager, junior product manager, and so and so. So all in all, what I'm trying to highlight is, rather than looking at the titles, what we need to look at is what is the experience and the expertise that we need in order for us to move forward in the career. That move forward might look different based on which company and which particular industry you work in, right? So generalizing it is a hell lot of work and it does not yield any outcome. So from our perspective at Massiview, what we did, we have come up with something called product leadership career pathways. Right. And this is the first glimpse I'm giving you. This is fresh from oven. So what we are looking in when we look at and work within industry is a lot of people, right? Especially if you're just starting your career, coming out of college or coming out of university, we see that a lot of people directly they do not get a product owner role or associate product manager role in many cases, right? Maybe in the startup environment, you might be able to get it if you possess those qualities and if in your degree course you have learned something around product management and ownership. In certain USA based universities, there are courses on product management, agile product delivery, and so on and so forth. And those individuals or graduates, they take those courses and sometimes they are offered those kind of roles. But the typical starting point in other cases, what we see is you start as a business analyst, and if you're really good in designing and defining the user experience, then UX designers, right? So those are the two roles that we see maximum time who actually convert and converge into the product leadership or product management kind of roles going forward. Similarly, there is a lot of cases where we have seen people who are doing software development or engineering, after a certain period of time, they want to go into business. They want to experience the overall business management functions, business leadership roles, or product leadership roles. And that's where we see a convergence happening, and those people also getting onto either a product owner role for a team, or either associate product manager role for the particular product. Now, those in between roles that we have shown you, those are the ones who generally exist based on your experience and expertise, right? So from a product owner, there are multiple pathways that we are seeing in the industry around becoming a lead product owner, where you are actually guiding multiple product owners and you're leading a segment, a section, or a particular feature set of a product, or a value stream of the product, right? So for example, especially the complex product like the lifestyle applications that we are seeing, one lead product owner might be there just for the transport side of things. One lead product owner might be there for the food side of things. One product owner might be there for the fashion and styling side of things, because these are all specialized streams of work or domain, right? And then we see a chief product owner role, who are still working with the technical team and then driving this technology vision and mission with the technology leadership. Okay, so those are the product owner evolutions that we see in the industry. In product management functions, especially in the business side, we see product manager, senior product manager, product portfolio manager, and then we see head of product or VP of product or chief product officer kind of roles. These are the people who own the P&L for the entire product. So for example, all those lifestyle applications, for that one person will be the VP of product, who will manage end to end all the verticals, all the streams, responsible for all the P&L, accordingly putting all the budgeting, all the financing, all the benefits tracking, and so on and so forth. Right. So this is what we see currently in the industry, and this is what we see foreseeable in the next few years. But as with everything, this is also bound to change. So this is our current view for the career pathways. All right. Now, the quick question that you might have is, okay, all this is good. You're telling me what exists in the industry, what are the different roles, but then what do I do about it? Where do I go from here, where we are or where I am? Right. So what can I do about going and growing forward? So there are few things that I wanted to highlight and bring back again in terms of no matter which role you pick, which level you are in your product leadership journey, there are few key skills that is compulsorily required for you to be effective product leader. Right. So number one, again, this is the skill set for becoming a good product manager. Uh, Whichever level you are, you will need these skills. Right. So logical thinking, strategic planning, curiosity in research, empathetic customer interviewing, insightful market analysis, problem solving, feature planning, task scheduling, production ability, organized, productive daily communication, and collaborating with team members. Now, you might be thinking, oh, this is so many skills you are requiring from one single person. Can a person possess all of this? Over the period of time, yes, right? But on day one, you might want to focus on few, right? So I have kind of put the underline skills, which is kind of mandatory for you to become and start your product management journey, right? So curiosity is your first weapon in terms of your skills, right? If you're not curious about knowing new things, learning new things, then this profession may not be for you. Specifically in the uncertain times and hybrid world, this is a skill which is fundamental to every role, not just product manager. Curiosity is the key for you to work with others, understand, and get to work on a daily basis. Otherwise, you will get bored if you're not curious very quickly. Organized, because now you are working in a global environment, right? After the post-pandemic era, right? So even though people are going back to office, there are always people who are working from home or working from somewhere else. Even when pandemic was not there, we used to work with remote teams, right? So half of your team is in Europe, half of team in India, in US, in China, in Philippines, and we're not, right? So if you're not organized as a product manager, if you're not able to articulate your backlog and work properly, then you will find it hard to achieve your business outcomes. And if you are unable to achieve your outcomes, then as a product manager, organization raises the first question on you as part of your accountability and responsibility. So that's why being organized is very, very important. Proactive daily communication. I don't think I need to explain this. Without this, there is lack of transparency. There is always this doubt element in terms of what's happening, and then you see that all of a sudden you have a very toxic environment. So communication leads to multiple different things. Number one, it creates transparency, it creates trust, it also creates visibility for everybody. Collaboration with the team members, yes, very, very important, especially if you think that you know it all. So we see in the industry there are many people who have been there, who have done that. But believe me, no matter how many times you have done a particular thing, there are always better ways to do things, right? And all the innovations that is pointing to us, even on a daily basis. Take an example of vacuum cleaner. The vacuum cleaners that we used to get in 2010 and now they are drastically different, right? If as a know-it-all person, I think, hey, I know what a vacuum cleaner is. Don't talk about me. All those Dysos and everybody else who is actually Tyson and all who is creating vacuum cleaners, they will be out of business. But what instead they do is they have a collaborative mindset where they are curious, they want to learn from people, they want to go out and they want to take another step at it to become better at it. So I think those are few good product manager skill sets. I would urge you to look at it and try to imbibe them in your day-to-day behavior. Now, the next question is, how can I learn about this? Right? Okay, so reading on Google is one point, getting on YouTube and understanding what curiosity means, what organization means, and going through those is one part. But most of those information that is available online, those are not directly relevant to what we do on a day-to-day basis. They are very generic, very contextless, right? So they do not provide you the right context and right information in where we operate. How do we go about it? That's where some of the structured learning comes into play, especially given that we have been working with many organizations. What we saw as a company that many of the organizations lack an structured learning path for product management functions. All we or they do is they send all their product managers or all their product owners on all the 2-day certification courses. For example, yeah, let's go and do the PO course from Scrum Incorporation. Let's do a 2-day course from SAFe for POPM. And many people, believe me, tons of money is spent every year on this. And I'm seeing this for last over 12 years. So especially people go there, they learn about it. It's not that the training is good or bad. The training is excellent. The trainers are doing a great job. But the context is not there. When they come back after the training, they don't find those elements or those specific items in their environment. So one of the things that we have been providing to organizations, especially the financials and financial insurance organization, is a structured learning path. Because in an organization of 3,000 people, not everybody will be at the same level of understanding of what a role looks like, what activities to be done, and how do we apply it in a specific scenario, right? So for example, a product owner's role for a healthcare product will be very different than a product owner's role for a data lake product or a infrastructure ops kind of work, because they are drastically different. In a healthcare, you might have a user element, which is external user. In an infrastructure kind of product, you might have all the internal stakeholders, and most of the time you're talking to the system owners who are talking in a technical language, who are not your typical business users. So now kind of contextualizing this and putting this into play and putting a structured roadmap around this was the challenge that we were trying to solve from last 3 to 4 years. And we came up with this 2 years back for enterprises. which I'm showcasing to you here, right? So we say, if you are starting your product leadership journey, there are five different set of enablement paths that you can take. So you can take the adaptive leadership advocate, given that each and every role needs and leadership skills. So understanding what are the foundations for business and technology leaders to go into the uncertain business environment, which entails a lot of things around prioritization, which entails a lot of things about identifying opportunities, seeking the right negotiation techniques, and so on and so forth. Then the second bit is around the business analyst path, right? So a lot of business analysts are there in the industry who have been working so hard, but they are not effective in their role because they either miss the point on how do I communicate the requirement, or they don't have enough experience in terms of adopting the modern tool sets or modern practices of creating real impact as a business analyst and going beyond the traditional translator role that they have been offered, right? So that is where we have this specific path for the business analyst, where you can actually talk and bridge the gap between biz and tech, and also apply new ways of working, especially in the new agile transformations that are happening, right? So the first question people ask is, do we need a BA role? I already have agile team. I already have a product owner. What a BA is supposed to do there? But in a complex environment, you definitely do need, this kind of roles. Now, the next one is pragmatic product owner. This is a specifically designed course for product owners who are working in the field for a couple of years now, who have been all through the 2-day trainings I talked about, and who are struggling to understand how to prioritize, how to negotiate, how to actually communicate my product vision, and how to get the best out of my team, specifically around business outcomes. So that's where this pragmatic product owner course is, which we have as a 2-day course option for people. So a lot of attendees of this course is senior product owners who come to us and say, Sandeep, I have gone to SAFE POPM course. I have learned this 2-day class. I came back to office. I'm now 3 months trying to adopt this. None of this works for me. And that's when we basically ask them to, okay, you have done this course, now come to this course. We are not talking about specific theoretical knowledge. You come to us with your problem set. We will help you with the tools and techniques that can help you get it implemented in your environment. And that's why it is called pragmatic product owner course. This is not the theoretical certification courses that you generally experience in the market. So that's the difference. So far, we have been only offering it to the corporate. Now we are looking to offer it to publics as well. That's why, we are now launching it as part of this webinar. The fourth one is adaptive leaders course, which is for senior leadership, both from mid to senior level leaders who are entering the market as leaders. Uh, they need to understand few key things around how their role is changing, what meta skills they need to have, and what kind of signature movement they need to capture every time they meet and greet people in their environment, every time they want to drive a business outcome in their environment. And that's this is our most popular course, adaptive leader. We do offer a master class also for 90 minutes for as an introductory class to the leaders, especially the CXOs, the CFOs, the MDs, and senior leaders, to kind of go through at a very high level what it means. And generally we see that they do go through the 2-day course with us to get through that. And this is one of the most and highly sought after course, the fourth one. And we, given that all the product management functions, we need leadership skills, and not just the traditional leadership skills anymore. We need leadership skills for future. And that's why this adaptive leader certification is a critical one. The last but not the least is for the enterprise product leader course, that where we look at the this course is specifically designed for the chief product owners, the portfolio product managers, and the chief of product officers and VPs of product, who are there and who wants to now infuse all the new things into their product line, they want to, create a pivot on their product strategy, or they are looking for creating and launching new product lines. So this product actually talks about a lot of business related items in terms of prioritization, interactions, product led strategy, and how you can actually build into sustainability and innovation in your organization. So this is for very senior people, senior leaders. So this is a pathway. This is available on our website. I know this is a very limited time to talk through each and every course. These courses have been developed over last 10 years and by multiple coaches based on their experience with over 35 different transformations. So this is not theory that we are talking about. This is all from the industry, the things that we have learned, the things that we have saw, and then the things that we believe will be the future of the product management. Right. So now the question will be, Sandeep, this is all good. You know, you have told us about everything that you got, but where do I start? All right. So our guidance is very simple. If you are a beginner, you have 0 to 5 year experience. Our recommendation is you go through the 1 day certificate for adaptive leadership and the 2 day certificate for the agile business analyst. If you are working as a business analyst, if you're working as a UX designer, if you are working as a project manager who just got started and want to pivot to the product management space, these are the 2 courses we recommend. And after this, once you get into that role, we want you to work as that role for a couple of years before you do the next certification. Right. So our approach is not the annual renewal approach, right? So these are not the money milking machine for us. So we don't want you to renew until you need it, right? So that's our approach when it comes to the learning and enablement plan, right? So once you get the certificate, it's with you. There is no renewal because we believe the learning has to evolve from what you learned, right? So there is no part refining the same thing again and again and again. So that's where once you are certified as a business analyst and you get it to the 6 to 12 year kind of zone, that's where we would like you to do the certified adaptive leader, certified pragmatic product owner. And then if you are interested and you see a potential to go through a point where you can be the chief of product or a chief product owner, that's where you would do the certified enterprise product leader. If you don't see the need, you don't have to do it. Right. Then the third one is where you're already playing a CPO role and you want to be better at it. That's when you go to the certified adaptive leader and certified enterprise product leader course. So it's not just in our saying, our actions also speak the same, that it is not something that we want you to just come and then oh, just do it because yeah, we will get money out of it and you will get something out of it. But that something has to be useful for you. Right? If you spend money and it is not useful or helping you, your career or in your work, then we don't want you to spend that money, and neither we want to spend that time. So that's how we have designed these pathways, that it's absolutely based on where you are, what you need to grow forward, and what can get you forward, because we exactly know where you need to adopt to which particular course. All right. So with that, you might ask me, okay, Sandeep, can you tell me what this courses actually, what kind of improvements that you have seen because of these courses, right? So these are some of the statistics that we have got from over 500 plus people in last 2 years. So our satisfaction score is typically around 4.8 and above for out of 5. We have seen that, the people who have gone through these courses, they are 4x more involved in their work. So we saw less attrition, because they now understand their role. They are now basically engaging with the right stakeholders. They are influencing the right outcome for their products or projects, and they are negotiating better on their outcomes. Right. So that's what we have seen so far. On the team level, when these people are being put into the team environment and started work, we saw the productivity and team collaboration up, and not marginally, by a significant percent, and also the employee happiness up by doing so. And this is again not something that is made up. This is again based on the 500 plus participants that have gone through. Now we have a very unique approach when it comes to our courses, right? Once you go through our courses, you are part of a community, Maceview community. So we do have a long-term association with all the people whom we are engaged with. So it's not a one-off that you come, you do the course, you're off on your own. Once you are part of the community, you have the ability to talk to us, talk to the other participants on an ongoing basis. So that also creates a lot of learning environment where you can actually clarify, you can put your questions, and you can ask various other points on an ongoing basis. Last but not the least, now here is where we will open up for Q&A. So let me quickly, my request for you is to scan this form, and then if you are interested in any of the course, you can register your interest here. We will also put this link into the chat window for those who want to do that. And then open to Q&A now. Any questions anybody have?
So now their mics and videos are enabled, Sandeep. They can unmute and then speak.
Okay, yeah. So you can basically unmute yourself and you can speak. Any inputs, any feedback based on what you heard today? All right, let me see if any questions we haven't had.
So there were some questions on whether to be a product manager, do we need an MBA? That's one. And then one more question on what kind of skills we need at different levels of product manager. And then how to collect this customer needs, because one of the participants have seen only surveys, but what are the other tools we can use to get to know the customer needs?
Okay. All right. In the meantime, if you can help me with the poll, I just put a poll for you guys to put how do you rate today's webinar so far? What you heard from poor to excellent. So if you can put that for us, we will basically see if there are any specific areas we need to improve on. Yes, so I think I talked about the product manager skill and product owner skill in details, right? So I hope that answers the question. Balaji, is there anything else which you would like me to elaborate on from the Q&A?
No, Sandeep, I tried my best to answer, but if they have any questions, please, participants, please feel free to ask your questions. If there is any more information you need on the questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and then speak.
There is a very good question here from Arvind, which is basically about, does the PO also responsible for team skill growth and resource capacity, or just responsible for customer delivery? Right. So I think this is there is a multitude of combinations we have seen in the industry. Right. So generally the team do have a line management, or a line manager. So for example, developers might be reporting into a chapter lead or a technical lead, and those people are responsible for their career management, the capacity, and their career growth. Right now, POs are responsible to communicate the gaps in capability. Right, so they will be working with those people who are basically working in the teams and leading the team as line managers to communicate on, yes, okay, this is the skill growth that this team needs, or I'm not having this capability with us, we need this. So can we get these people trained on this, or can we get a resource for it? Like for example, typical cases, oh, I don't have UX skills. So the team lead or the resource or the chapter lead might say, you know what, okay, we can borrow this from somewhere else, or we can get few people trained on this, or we can put this as a learning path for some of the people in the team. So that's on the skills growth. I think you talked about capacity part as well. And the capacity is again a function of, two things. One is availability, and then the second one is the budget, right? So as a PO, if you have the required budget for adding more capacity to your team, that's where you will again go and discuss with this chapter leads or the technical leads to add people in your team or the capacity in your team, right? So, but in general, right, a role of the PO is to get the product delivery out with the team. So they work hand in hand, but they also provide inputs and comments to these people, the line managers, to get the required capacity and capability. One anti-patterns where the team reports into product owner, that causes a lot of fear, lot of steer in the team. So that is not recommended, because there is always this part where POs will have there are few POs who are very cutthroat in terms of, yes, we need this by then, and that's where the role of scrum master and team lead comes into play, where they need to be educated on the team capacity and capability and so on and so forth. So there is a constant communication cycle that happens in between. All right, any other questions, anybody? If you have, feel free to ask here in the chat, and please help me with the poll. I have not seen many responses yet. 7 responses so far. Please help to provide the response. So yeah, how do you rate today's webinar? I got around 8 so far. Please go ahead and then help us with this poll. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us via email also. I will put my email here in the chat window, those who want to directly contact me. Yeah. And then you can reach out to Shreyas, Harika, those people who are here, Balaji. They can also put their emails if you have any specific questions. We are just 2 minutes on the clock, I believe. So right in time. So with that, I would like to thank you all for joining us today. It was really very good, questions. Some of them are very insightful for us as well to look at it. I wish you all the very best. Those who are celebrating Chinese New Year, Gong Fa Chai. Those who are big in India, I hope a very good and fabulous 2023 for you all, and look forward to learn together with you all. Thank you very much.